The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the max. Monday Night Raw review.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling to the Max's Raw review for April 10th, 2018. And of course, this is the after WrestleMania Monday Night Raw, so that means it's one of the most exciting of the year, and I can't wait to jump into it. I, of course, am your host, Gary Vaughan, and along with me is your other host, Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, Sean, I'm so glad that you're on tonight. Of course, we've kind of had a round table here. Paul's been here, then we have Brandon, and now tonight, Sean. And I'm glad you're on with me tonight, Sean, because this is a huge Raw. This is something that I think is going to have a lot to talk about for the fact that we've got plenty of shake-up information. We've got some retirement stuff to talk about, and we also have a full listing of many, many happenings on this Raw. So glad to have you here tonight, buddy.
Yeah, even some, I don't think they meant to, but they giveaways for the Saudi Arabia show. So,
yeah.
Like the Intercontinental title ladder match that they still have not announced, but they gave it away.
Yeah, I know.
So, that made me laugh there. I was like, I was live tweeting during the show, and I'm like, well, they just gave that away randomly. So, okay. But I'd assume that perhaps the 6 people we saw in the match in the main event perhaps might be in it, or at least 4 of them. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's pretty much a giveaway, I think, as well. But, let's give them some slack. Maybe they have some other things in store for us, or maybe they don't. I don't know. But I think what is important here is that they gave us a Monday Night Raw that really kind of led you down the ringer of emotions, right? You laughed, you cried a little bit, and heck, you just had fun. So let's get into this thing pretty soon here. But before we do, I want to let everybody know, make sure you do go check out all the great stuff that we did this past weekend. We had an opportunity to do Wrestling to the Max's big WrestleMania 34 review show. That was a lot of fun. Myself, Sean, Brandon Bisco Bing, and Robert Taylor all joined up and did a great show. Some controversial stuff as well to go check out. Trust me, it was a crazy night. It was a lot of fun, though. It's one of those shows that you got to go watch because it's actually on video. So if you want, go to W2Mnet.com or, of course, the YouTube channel and check it out. We also did the same thing. Me, Sean, and Robert Taylor did the NXT TakeOver New Orleans show the same exact way. And, boy, that was a lot of fun as well. So there's some great content out there for you for the WrestleMania weekend. Make sure you go check out W2Mnet.com, like I said. Also, make sure you go find us on YouTube because that's also another great place. All you have to do is go to YouTube, type in W2M Network, and there it is. All the great content. Those videos will be there along with everything else that W2Mnet.com has to offer. Once again, W2M Network is a great place to go subscribe, rate, and review wherever you do get your podcast from, whether it's iTunes, iHeartRadio, or even, heck, Stitcher. Make sure you go check it out, and make sure you also put that subscribe button on your queue. Make sure you also don't forget to rate and review while you're over there, too. That's very, very important. And also some big love to some of our other friends at 411mania.com and LaseroneProWrestling.com. They also deserve a little support. They did some great stuff this weekend as well, and we want to support them because they support us, too. So besides that, that's pretty much all the plugs I want to give you before we get into this great show. Sean, why don't you lead us down this road on this post-WrestleMania Raw?
Certainly, like Gary said, this was certainly run of emotions Raw, and of course the Raw after WrestleMania always had surprises in store, and there were plenty of those too. The first one that we found out is apparently Brock Lesnar has re-signed for 3 more years, so get ready for that, folks. How much longer is he holding that title? Let's see.
God.
And I really think he's going to lose it at the Saudi Arabia show because I think that's one of the places that actually likes Roman. But we'll see how ironic it is that that's one of the places that likes Roman. They don't like women apparently, but
they like Roman. That's okay.
Or at least women at sporting events. Shouldn't say that about everyone, but apparently that's starting to change in the country, but it's not changed too much. So, with that being said, speaking of sporting event, there's not a lot of long matches on this show. This is much more of about getting to those big announcements and those big things that happen, and they don't waste much time going off of what happened. Of course, the best match on the show, at least for I think all three of us, if not two of us, that we said on last night's WrestleMania review was the mixed tag between Triple H and Stephanie and Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle. And so Stephanie, of course, with her broken arm, it shows up first because she is a McMahon and this is Raw, and you guys start off Raw with McMahon, and of course she is so good about just taking boos and turning it into adulation for herself. Totally just delusional about what the fans are saying here. And then, she goes on and on about she knew what she was doing the whole time. She was trying to butter up Ronda about joining them, basically. This is what it amounts to. She's going into a spiel about, hey, Ronda, we can be even, we might be enemies now, but if we become friends, we can help each other out so much better and just take the world by storm. And you want to become a huge, huge star, join us. And the crowd, of course, is not okay with this. They were chanting BS and shut the F up and all these kinds of things you should not be hearing on cable television, but you're hearing it anyway. And Ronda just says, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to break your arm again. And she just does another armbar and does her thing. Just great reaction from the crowd when she came out. Great reaction again for her breaking her arm again. Stephanie just does this stuff so well. And the reaction afterwards as well with the people and the medics coming to help her, I thought was fantastic too.
Yeah, I agree. And, there was something to be said to set this up because this was a big deal on the actual WrestleMania card, as we saw, and all the stuff you just mentioned. I think it was kind of interesting the way they played it, though. I really felt like they were going to do something different where they kind of played it as Stephanie was going to come out here and just complain and complain and complain, and then Rousey says stop complaining or something like that. But this ended definitely a little bit differently than I ever expected. I had no idea that Ronda Rousey was going to try to break her arm again. And I look at that and say that's good on her because that kind of gets rid of Stephanie, right? I mean, for the time being, that we don't need that storyline anymore. We got past the whole authority thing. So there you go. Ronda Rousey gets rid of the authority for the time being, at least. And now she can move on to whatever else they're going to have her do. And just want to, say also Brandon was so concerned about people maybe starting to boo Ronda. No, this crowd loved her. And I think there's a lot of stuff here we're going to see in the future with her that's going to really kind of transition us into really seeing her on a more regular basis, but not all the time. But still, I think she did a great job on this show. And, there you go. I mean, not a bad opening. It was kind of interesting the way they kind of started things out.
Yeah, certainly. I like it when you continue things from the previous night and it's not involving the obvious people that we've seen many, many times. Ronda will certainly get people's attention to start off the show. I think people will, that watched her the night before, they probably want to see where she's going next. This kind of continues from there, but we'll see. When does she start actually wrestling women on the roster and not Stephanie or Triple H? Do they do that quickly? Do they keep this going longer? Of course, we've got the Superstar Shakeup next week. I don't think Ronda's going anywhere, but again, depends, right? Because we don't know all the rules yet. But if it's very much like last year's Superstar Shakeup, that means you could have more people from NXT come up next week. So perhaps, we don't see some women come up on SmackDown like you might think, and they hold it off for next week. And perhaps, maybe like the Dynamic Duo come up, or someone else that could be a early feud for Ronda, or perhaps they have Ronda wrestle just, Alexa Bliss or some other heel on the roster. But we'll see how that goes, because this thing with Stephanie and Triple H could have more legs if they desire for that to do so. Speaking of, they continued the female trend here after having Ronda come out. Nia Jax comes out. Of course, she's the new Raw Women's Champion after defeating Alexa Bliss the night before and conquering the woman that would not stop bullying her. And so Nia comes out, and then Alexa and Mickie James come out and say that Nia is really a bully because she throws her weight around. Get it? She's heavy, so that way around. Yeah. It does not stop, apparently, with Alexa Bliss. She continues her blaming the weight game, and apparently she was so upset by the fact that Mickie James was attacked last night. That's why Alexa Bliss lost. I don't know. You were raking Nia's eyes so many times. I don't know if that has anything to do with why you lost, but Alexa is wonderful at playing this game. And, of course, this leads into Alexa making fun of Nia, like, you don't have any friends. Who's going to want to be your friend? And Nia's like, well, the joke is on you, Alexa, because my partner tonight is the debuting, or at least main roster debuting, Ember Moon. So we did talk about Ember Moon on the NXT TakeOver review. Again, the women seem to have benefited a lot more than the men of having their character growth on the main roster. So hopefully Ember Moon can be another one of those women that just is absolutely able to grow character on the main roster, something she wasn't able to do on NXT. Look, this match wasn't really anything. It was here to basically show off Ember Moon doing the Eclipse and getting the hot tag and all that stuff. It was just neat. It's fine. But a decent debut for Ember Moon.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely want to talk about Ember Moon, but before I do, I want to briefly cover the stuff that was before that. And what I liked about having this all after Ronda Rousey was the fact that you still had people watching Raw that maybe don't usually watch Raw and get a chance to see this, right? This is an opportunity for them to see other people or other ladies in the women's division that are starting their career or really starting to get somewhere in their career. And I think this is a great deal. I think it really should showcase Nia Jax to people who, like I said, don't watch Raw all the time. A lot of people were watching Ronda Rousey. That was a smart decision to open with her because people around the water cooler all Monday were talking about WrestleMania and her. You knew they were going to try to tune in and check this out. So this gave an opportunity for Nia Jax to kind of showcase herself a little bit here, and I appreciate that. Alexa Bliss does such a great job on the mic, and she must have watched CNN and Fox Sports, or Fox News, before this whole thing started, because she had all the excuses in the world. All the whiny baby excuses. I like that, this, I'm so fragile because someone hurt my feelings. And all of it kind of came to a head of, her just starting to say, well, you know what, I'm going to make fun of you because I feel bad about it. And the cool thing was, as good as she did on the mic, they were able to put egg on her face by entering Ember Moon, who, we had talked about, like you said, Sean, on the NXT TakeOver New Orleans review show, and we really kind of talked about this. Is she going to move up to the main roster? She got done with Shayna Baszler. Were they going to do that? Was she ready? We don't know. And I think I kind of mentioned, I can't remember everything I said, but I think I mentioned that I think that this could be a case of Elias or some other stars that came from NXT that didn't really shine overwhelmingly down there, but on the main roster they could. And I think there's an opportunity here for her, and I like the debut. I like the fact that everybody was really seeming to be behind her. Honestly, the crowd had a good reaction to Ember Moon, and I think she did an excellent job on her debut match, and I think there's a bright future. for her. I really do. I think there's going to be a lot of people behind Ember Moon, and hopefully, it's kind of funny to say this, but hopefully she doesn't do so well that, Nia Jax, the champ, gets left in the dust, because she kind of seemed to be the star of that match.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's fine to have Nia take a back seat. She got what she wanted, right? She doesn't have to be in the spotlight. On the first night of her title reign, what matters is that she defends the title at the end of the day. So, she's got a presence about her. It's not like you're not going to notice her. Oh,
yeah.
Kind
of hard to miss her is what you're saying,
right?
Sean?
Exactly. It's hard to miss her. So, I think it's fine. They debuted, and again, this is going to be hard to evaluate because Ember Moon could wind up on SmackDown next week, for all we know. I doubt it, but it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. We've seen this happen before. So after this, another debut, and they announced this one before showing up there. They went to break announcing that No Way Jose was making his debut. He had a squash with John Skyler. It was really just there. He does the punch, and that's pretty much it, really. You also had the fun stuff with Braun and Nicholas backstage with Kurt Angle. Braun says there's a scheduling conflict, because of course there is. Nicholas is still in the 4th grade, of all things. And but hey, when he finishes school, they're going to come get those belts, and Nicholas appropriately says that they're going to come get these hands. And the crowd loved it. The crowd loved Nicholas. They popped huge for him. I think it's all well and good. This does exactly, I think, what everybody thought was going to happen. The titles were going to get stripped the next night, and now there's a tag team eliminator happening, and I guess that's fine. Eventually, Cesaro and Sheamus also appear to let Kurt Angle know that I'm skipping around just because this also has to do with that. That Cesaro and Sheamus are kind of like, well, hey, those guys relinquished their belts. Why are we not getting our titles now? And Angle's like, well, that's not how this works. We're doing a tag team eliminator that's going to be taking place at finishing off at the Greatest Royal Rumble event, the one in Saudi Arabia, or as some people have dubbed it, Arabia Mania, whatever you want to call it there. So whoever wins this tag team eliminator is going to face Cesaro and Sheamus. So at least they are penciled in to that match. Good for them. And you also had Good Brothers in the Revival, which was a fine match. There was nothing I thought really to go over there, but there's a few segments for you.
Yeah, let's just start with the tag. Oh, actually, let me just get No Way Jose out of the way real quick, okay? It's kind of funny to say. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. That's the one thing that's not.
No way, Jose. Yeah. You're just throwing it out there? Like, come on.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what's weird, Sean. I wanted to kind of ask you about that because we've seen this in NXT before. Like, No Way Jose was the guy that came out and really started just basically getting squashes and then did a few things here. Then he got injured and he came back to NXT, did nothing. And I just thought, oh boy, this guy's going to go away. And then all of a sudden he's here on Raw. Kind of different for me. It also made me start to think of another guy that used to come out and dance around the ring with a lollipop in his mouth. Do you remember that guy?
Yes, Adam Rose. Yeah.
So it kind of
looks like he got the rosebuds too, right?
Exactly.
Very similar.
So No Way Jose, if you want your career to go down the right way, make sure you are smart and you find a way to get over in a major way, because I don't know. When you kind of come out like the guy that got fired, it concerns me a little bit. And not only that, I mean, I don't know where this guy really lands. What is he about? I still don't even know, and I watched him on NXT for years. So a little lost on No Way Jose. He's a fine wrestler. He does his job. I'm not over the moon for the guy. I've never have been. Here we go, right?
It's the perfect crowd to debut him in, though, right? Because this is the type of crowd that likes those dancing gimmicks. Mm-hmm. So, they made Fandango. They had too much fun with Adam Rose. I think, this is fine. Just agree with you. This is an opening guy that can come in. Another Ty Dillinger, Ty Dillinger should be more than he is, but we know the whole politics behind that. This is also the kind of gimmick that Vince likes. The Santino, that kind of gimmick that you can put anywhere on the show. He wastes 5 minutes. He wastes 10 minutes. He wastes a Backstage segment. I'm sad to say, I like No Way Jose. I'm all for Latino characters getting some time, all that, but sadly that gimmick is just, it doesn't have a lot of length, at least right now. And maybe perhaps again on the main roster, it can turn into another Elias for all we know. But right now I just have big doubts that it really could.
Yeah, me too. And you make a good point. This guy could just fill those 5 minutes of airtime just so they can get to the next thing. And we'll see where he goes. The whole Superstar Shakeup thing, I think, is going to answer a lot more questions. So I'm going on and on about something that'll probably change up a little bit here. And I loved that segment with Braun Strowman and Nicholas. That was hilarious. I loved it. I laughed out loud because they were just so great at that, right?
Yeah.
They really made an honest showing of a kid who's, just innocent. And, Kurt Angle is like, what are you going to do? And I just love the whole segment. So definitely, you're listening to us talk about it. Go watch it. It is so funny. And it's great.
So natural at that kind of thing. It's, look, I know he's an actor and, he's been in big roles, but I think, just it's so crazy how you can play off so well with a child right there. It's like it doesn't matter who's there, he makes it work. Alexa Bliss, a freaking kid in the 4th grade, Roman Reigns. It doesn't matter. The dude is gold. So
yeah, he is. He really is, and he's going to make a lot more money for WWE. Trust on that. And just the whole thing was great, so I love that. And then this is always one of those segments that just really get, I think, also those people that once again are watching all the time. Will get them into watching maybe on a more regular basis. I think what we got here with the elimination tag thing, I think it's actually a really, really smart idea. It's something that they needed to kind of figure out, and I hopefully it'll put some more eyes on that tag division. Like you said, Sean, the match where you had the Revival and Gallows and Anderson, it didn't mean a whole lot. It was a decent match, but the Revival winning was the right choice. I just have to say it that way.
Yeah, so they're in that tag team eliminator for winning.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to be involved. I like Gallows and Anderson, but let's be honest, the WWE just does not care enough about them. I think the Revival is a great choice, and them getting the victory makes me happy.
So what also made a lot of people happy was Seth Rollins coming out. The crowd was totally into his "Burn It Down" thing that's in his theme song. He in fact made note of that in the opening of his promo, and the fans just started chanting "Burn It Down" as well. They chanted "You Deserve It" at him, which, God, the chant is so annoying. But whatever, the fans like doing it. It is what it is. Finn Balor showed up and reiterated that he deserves it as well, and he's like, look, hey, how about you and I go at it one-on-one? The Miz comes out and says, look, I have a rematch clause in my contract, so you better be giving it to me. And he notes about the whole having a kid, so he's a different guy now, and that Rollins stole his title, and it made Maurice cry, made his child cry, everything else. Miz is just such a douchebag, and he keeps doing it. Even after having a kid, he's putting the blame on his kid crying for losing his title. Come on, man. What is wrong with you? But still, he does that so well. And Miz says, look, I'm cashing in my rematch at Backlash. I'm not stupid. I'm not doing it right now. Smart man, the Miz, make everybody wait for the big moment. And so Miz says, well, how about Miztourage against Balor and Rollins? They agree. And then all of a sudden, Jeff Hardy comes back wearing the Jeff Hardy gear. Thank God he has got his eyes open without the makeup. We can totally see his face. And, hey, we get a main event segment for this show, which is the longest match on the show. And it was fun. It was good fun. Just everybody getting to do the big moves that they do. Michael Cole flubbed on the Poetry in Motion, which was funny. And yeah, I mean, the faces win, which is what you would expect to send the crowd home happy. And you get the finisher, the finisher fest on Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel as well at the end, just to make the crowd even more fired up. It's fine stuff. Apparently, it's Jeff Rollins. I don't know if it's Jeff. I think it's Rollins, Miz, Samoa Joe, and Finn Balor in the ladder match for the SC title. We'll see if they add... Oh, Jeff can't go international, right? Because of the felony?
I'm not clear on if they've actually got that figured out yet, but you may be still correct on that. I cannot remember how that works. But yeah, I could see that. I could definitely. And if they didn't announce it already, that may be a definite, flag.
They announced this on the WWE Twitter. So I don't think they announced it on the actual show.
No.
Because Samoa Joe came out and he was involved in a totally different thing later. So
yeah.
But yeah, 3 of the guys in the match are involved in the ladder match that you'll see at the Greatest Royal Rumble on April 27th. And Samoa Joe is also involved in that right now. But I'd imagine usually they don't have 4-person ladder matches, so we'll see if they involve other people. Of course, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar in the steel cage match as well. That they announced earlier in the show, and then John Cena, Triple H going at it, and the 50-man Royal Rumble. So that's the matches announced for right now. They have obviously promised all the titles on the line except for the women's titles. So we'll see how those shape up as the build for that show and for Backlash continues.
Yeah, and that's a smart idea on their part. Especially if it's going to be a showcase on the network, make sure you make a big deal about it and put the titles on the line. So I don't blame them. It's going to be really interesting to see that show. And Backlash will also be good, I think, too, because, they're already starting to set things up for that as well. This whole little situation we had in this 6-man tag is fine. I like The Miz, and I always do. He's always great on the mic, and what he said was kind of funny, and also, once again, meant that he had to talk about his daughter. I think what you got here was an interesting thing to me, and that was that Seth Rollins has been the guy that they've been building up, right? They were trying to building up pre-WrestleMania, and they've done it. And now this WrestleMania crowd, even the Raw after crowd, loves Seth Rollins. And him getting the victory here, I mean, it was just apropos. I think, if you're going to chant you deserve it to somebody, I guess, you can think that or what, but I think Finn Balor deserves it just as much. I kind of think it's funny Seth Rollins getting a little bit of a preferential treatment here. And by the way, I wish that after a hard day at work, when I got home and I sat down to eat dinner, people would chant "You deserve it." I really would, but they don't. So I'm a little jealous of Seth Rollins right now because But I mean,
you get that you deserve it from the people that matter, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. But it's kind of fun to see all this shake out, and they did a good job on this show, and especially the excitement behind Jeff Hardy making his return after injury. That was kind of cool. I was really kind of curious too with the Finn Balor and Jeff Hardy wearing the rainbow colors, if they're still celebrating LGBT pride, or if it's a new thing, but it seems like it's more.
No, that's certainly what Finn Balor and Jeff Hardy are doing. So, which is totally fine. Right? You're reaching a certain, a different demographic of the audience. So I think that's what WWE tries to do. They try to reach everyone, and that's just another way for them to reach everyone. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. And I'm also one of those that, I know people complain about not having the demon the night before, but I don't think you should have the demon unless the demon calls for it in the storyline. I think it's dumb just to have, oh, hey, it's WrestleMania, so we're just randomly going to have the Demon show up because whatever, you know.
Yeah. It's special. It's a once in a great blue moon thing, and I think it needs to stay that way. And I'm not trying to be, again, because I'm happy completely that WB is celebrating gay pride. I'm happy that they're celebrating sick kids and all that. That's great. You should. I mean, you're on a big stage. Why not, help causes, do what you got to do, but I don't think the Demon needs to come out wearing rainbow colors and things like that. I think you need to, you need to leave that gimmick to just regular Finn Balor, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Just do not put it on the Demon. They didn't do that. They made the right decision.
Yeah, certainly. And so they continued here with more women's action on this one. It's rather appropriate for what happens after this. This match was really nothing. It was kind of bad, actually. It's just here to continue the Sasha and Bayley storyline. Mandy Rose is taking on Sasha Banks, and Mandy Rose accidentally shoves Bayley into Sasha, causing Sasha to get knocked down. It distracts her, and Mandy Rose hits the big running knee for the win, allowing Absolution and, of course, Paige watching there at ringside to get a win. This leads to the crowd getting quiet and Paige grabbing the microphone to finally say that what many of us have known for a long time, if you pay attention at all, to what Meltzers and Ryan Satin's and everybody else in the dirt sheet world say. This has been a thing that's been known. Paige is just not being allowed to compete due to so many neck injuries, and she finally just had one that was just too extreme, very much like the Edge one that made him retire. In fact, she mentions Edge talking to her and letting her know about that there is life after wrestling, that you can go on, that your life's not over. Even though it does hurt for somebody like Paige that wrestling has been her life since she was a teenager, basically, and it's hard for her because her family is still very much in wrestling, so it depends on how she feels about this. She does mention she's done as an in-ring performer. It doesn't mean that she's done as I won't be the manager of Absolution anymore. She doesn't even mention that at all, so that should be stated. We don't know if that means that they're going to have her go away from being the manager for a while, or if she's just going to keep being the manager and she just want to let everybody know that she's not going to be a wrestler and not to expect her to be wrestling with Absolution at all. She does mention Daniel Bryan giving her hope because of what happened at WrestleMania. She's just really it came out of nowhere for her, but she's happy that she was able to be there for 4 years on the main roster and give the fans everything. And then, that she debuted in New Orleans and then she retires in New Orleans as well. The crowd was really into this. They were thanking Paige and everything else. That was great to see as well, that the fans were very much supportive of her. And it's sad because Paige, her and Emma's not going to get a lot of credit because of her not being in the company and her gimmick kind of failing the various times that she's done the gimmick. And so Paige just unfortunately never really got to benefit from all this expanded love for the women. She was always on the fringes of it, whether it's because of her neck injury or because of the mental issues or the issues with Del Rio, or it's like right when she was starting to get back into everything, she had the neck injury that ended her career, and it's just sad that she never got to really take advantage of what all the other women got to. And she still thanked them. She was very supportive of them, and she could have been rather bitter about that, but she didn't, and she at least did get to be on Total Divas and get that. So I'm sure that not all of that was positive, but she got that, which does come from their expanded wanting to do more with the women. That's another thing that has come about because of that, and it's still going today. So, you know, again, it's just a sad thing for Paige that she should have been. We should have been talking about Paige having a 10-year career or longer in WWE, and she only had a 4 or 5 year one, and it's sad. It's sad always to have your career cut short like that.
It really is. And, this was, started out by having a match with someone in Absolution. And I think that was a good transition, right? I'm glad they didn't just bring Paige out to do this somber whole thing. I'm glad that they did a match before, just so that, she could just kind of transition, just grab the mic and do it, and without it being way overdone. So, yeah, sure, it kind of helped Sasha Bailey's thing continue, but that's whatever. They're kind of slow burning that thing. I think this, though, is really kind of sad, and it's kind of a somber moment. You could hear the crowd, chanting and all of that, and just really supporting her. And you got to feel for someone in that position, someone who, like you said, Sean, her entire life has been wrestling. Her mom, her dad, her brother, everybody that she pretty much has been around her entire life has been about wrestling. And now that she's got to find something else to do, it's going to be really hard on her. And maybe she still works for WWE in some kind of capacity. She does have a clothing store now, so she's got that going for her. And, you got to love the fact that they even have a movie coming out about her life, which they showcase all WrestleMania weekend, right?
Oh, my God. I was so tired of that commercial, or that trailer.
Too. When I get to that part of the movie, Sean, I'm just going to have to, go get a drink.
Yeah, that's where you can take the bathroom break if you need to go to the bathroom.
Exactly. So, I think at the end of the day, this is a great moment for her on still a big stage. It's not WrestleMania, but the Raw after is just as big of a stage for any other kind of pay-per-view underneath WrestleMania. So I think it's a good deal for her. People were definitely watching this Raw, and she got her opportunity to just kind of say goodbye. And hopefully, like she mentioned, Daniel Bryan, maybe there is a return. I don't know. It's not. I mean, there's more of a possibility it's not, but I hope with her that she's able to come back.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt Angle has shown that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, he's not in the best of shape right now, but he got to go on many years in Impact Wrestling, which I forgot to mention when I was talking about. Well, no, he actually has. We haven't gotten to that part yet, but that he wrestled afterwards. Now Edge he understood that. Look, I can take one bad shot to my neck and I'm paralyzed. Mm-hmm. And my life is definitely in a different situation than he is right now. So it just depends on Paige, right? If she feels like years down the line that she wants to take that risk, then go for it. If she says she stays true to everything and like Edge and just says, look, I'm gonna go find me somebody I really want to be with and have kids and do all that, then she's got the time for that too. She's very young still. So
yeah, and she likes guys in bands, so she should go hang out with Mark Andrews. So.
Nice. That could happen for her as well. So yeah, I mean, if you want to, Total Divas is a great showcase for Paige's highs and lows of her love life. If you want to go watch those for the years she was on. I mean, she could be on Total Divas again now because why not? Right? Yeah. She's not like she's doing a whole lot else, and I'm sure people would still want to know what is going on with her. So, speaking of rock star, Elias is sort of a rock star as well. Maybe not like Shinsuke, but in his own way. And, of course, he always lets you know that WWE stands for Walk with Elias. The crowd is absolutely bananas for him here. They are loving him. He is so good at just absolutely turning on the crowd, though. He does not let them rejoice in loving Elias. He says, look, you scumbags that were, booing me last night, you guys are the worst. And then the crowd chants, we are scumbags. And Elias is like, well, I'm glad that you recognize that you guys are scumbags. He just keeps going. It's just great. like the dude is awesome at this point. And then of course, we have Lashley arrive and appear once again. He gets a very nice reaction from the crowd here. It's going to be very interesting what his reaction is next week when he's not in front of that kind of crowd.
Yeah.
Will people care about Lashley? He just absolutely destroys Elias with the late suplex. I'm assuming he's going to go back doing the Dominator because of the Braun's press slam. That's his finisher. So I don't think Lashley will be doing that move, which was his finisher in Impact. So we'll see how that goes for him once he actually has a wrestling match that goes longer than 30 seconds. And that, of course, leads into this little nugget that is a wonderful, of course, nice thing for smart wrestling fans, something that casuals will not understand at all. And I'm sure many casuals were wondering, what is this? And now I need to go find out what it is. Or perhaps they just totally went over their heads. Who knows? Kurt Angle, of course, meets with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, something we talked about, of course, on the WrestleMania show as well, that you would expect for them to show up on Raw and try to get a job. And Kurt Angle's like, okay, so you attacked your commissioner and your general manager, and you're over here looking for a job. That doesn't sit well with me. That's not going to go over well with people. And Kurt Angle's like, look, maybe we're not looking for people. Our tag team division is full, but I'm hearing that TNA is hiring. Like, he literally said TNA is hiring, and I think all of Twitter was like, oh my god, he said TNA, but quickly I was sitting there going, well, he said TNA because they're not TNA anymore. So, and in fact, Impact Wrestling, instead of rolling with it, they just said, #we are Impact. What a way to look like idiots right after WWE just absolutely burned you on television. But, hey, what can you do when you're like the fifth most important wrestling organization on the planet? So, and that's being nice. So, I mean, I should take that back. Now they're doing stuff with Lucha Underground. Maybe they are a little bit more important.
Lucha kind of pushes them up just a tad, right?
Let's be real, Gary. When I don't know if you saw this or heard this at all, but apparently when they had that Impact Wrestling versus Lucha Underground thing, which was actually really good, they had both the announcers out there. Like Melissa Santos was out there, and I don't know who the Impact Wrestling ring announcer is, but so they had Melissa Santos yell out, "Hey, are you ready for Lucha Underground?" And everybody's like, "Yeah." "Are you ready for Impact Wrestling?" "No."
Oh.
So, I mean, that should let you know where people are at with this.
Yeah.
But hey, the main event of their next pay-per-view actually seems pretty cool. It's the two brothers, Phoenix and Penta El Zero, and Austin Aries. So that match could be actually really good. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm a big Penta Zero fan too, so that's going to make me very, very happy. Looking at the what we got here and making the joke about TNA, I died when I heard him say that. I loved it. It was a great moment, and I thought the exact same thing, Sean. It's like, well, you're not usually going to say that, but now that it's no longer TNA, they can get away with it, at least from Vince's eyes. I think it worked out, though. I like the fact that they had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn kind of have to fight it out to see who's going to get the job, so we'll talk about that later. Nice little segment. I appreciate what they did there. Bobby Lashley, former Impact guy, right? I mean, he was one of the biggest deals on that show. Now coming over to WWE, kind of revitalizing his career in the big time. And I really do have those same questions you do, Sean. Are people going to get behind him? Do they care? Because, let's be honest, not a lot of people watched Impact and watched him have those big matches and do what he did over there. So it's almost like this guy's been out golfing for many years and then all of a sudden arrived back and showed up on people's TV. I hope they do get behind him. I think he's done a lot of great work in Impact. I think, that's partly why they even brought him back. I think his work on the mic has gotten a lot better. Some of his wrestling, ability has really showcased really highly on those big matches he had in Impact Wrestling. So I'm glad the guy's back. I hope they give him an honest opportunity to be what he can be. And let's see, what kind of big feud he's going to end up with first.
Yeah, it seems really weird that you put him on the same show that Brock is on.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Brock re-signing. I kind of thought that Lashley was sort of the insurance for Brock not re-signing, but we'll get into that a little later with that whole news, and certain someone goes on and on about that, continuing on with his feud. You mentioned Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. They probably have the best match of the show. That's no surprise. These two are so good together. Even in a 10-minute match, they put on something good. They were really going out there and proving that they were both desperate to get a job. In fact, no one was able to beat the 10 count to get up after they were both knocked down. And so neither man wins the match. Definitely, if you're looking for one match to go check out, I think you should go check out the last two matches. They're both worth watching. They're not anything that's going to blow you away, but they're fun. 10, 12 minute little romps of goodness. So it won't take up too much of your time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's kind of, you're in the lurch as to, okay, are they going to try to go beg for their jobs back on SmackDown? Are they going to show up on NXT? Which, I don't know if Wednesday is actually a pre-tape, so you won't see it on Wednesday, but, are they going to be part of the Superstar Shakeup? That's another thing. They're technically not under contract, I guess. So, we'll see how that goes for them. And I'm going to leave one segment to the end. So, Matt Hardy, of course, the big thing from WrestleMania was that Bray Wyatt helped Matt Hardy win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal Trophy, which he calls the humongous, Giant H Trophy or something?
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's some funny name. Of course, in Matt Hardy lore, it would not have the name that it was given to it. It has to have a Woken name, of course. And so Bray Wyatt is now Matt Hardy's, I guess, first disciple. I don't know what you call. Was he Woken Bray now? Either way, Matt and Woken Bray have a 5-minute match with Titus Worldwide. Look, this was just here so that Bray and Matt get to show off tagging together. There's nothing really special about it, honestly. Other than the crowd was totally into this again. Matt Hardy starts clapping, and they are all clapping. That's amazing. They all sing the, got the world in your hands thing for Bray. So that was fun. It was fine. There was nothing too great about it. The part that was great involving these guys is right before you go to the main event, you're backstage with Jeff Hardy's walking. Of course, you see Rollins and Balor beforehand. They're kind of on the left and in the middle, and on the right is Jeff Hardy. And all of a sudden, he meets face to face with Brother Matt, of course, and he's like, "Oh, brother, nice to see you were healed." And Jeff goes on, and they talk in Woken language. Jeff is all like, I wish I would have totally remembered this, but Jeff is just talking about, well, I know that you had to win the Battle Royal, and eventually this leads to Jeff Hardy having Bray Wyatt presented to him as he said, well, a former foe helped me win, and Jeff kind of gives him the old, like, is he really, our friend now? And Wyatt's like, oh, Brother Nero, and he hugs him, and just The look on Valor and Vaughan's face afterwards made the entire segment because they're like, what the hell was that? And Jeff just puts up his hands like, I don't know. That's just how I talk to my brother now. It's great. So, it's awesome.
All this, everything you just mentioned was great. And I hope the fans watching are behind it because this is just overly entertaining throughout the match. Everything that, like you said, Woken Hardy was doing. People were all the way behind it. You even had Bray do a couple things to kind of, basically kind of fit in that realm of Woken.
Did delete.
Delete. He did the wonderful thing. That's another thing that I loved. And
he was like, "How you feeling, brother Bray?" He's like, "I feel wonderful."
Wonderful. It's like these guys are on a different planet. I mean, I love it. I think it's wonderful.
They literally
myself.
are on a different planet.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. So yeah, this is something that I think is really important to what basically Matt's trying to do, right? And that's to entertain the crowd, to get people behind all the chants, to get people behind all the different crazy things that he's doing. It's working for me. I hope it's working for a lot of other people, so I'm really happy with that. But yes, the interaction between Jeff and the fact that he's no longer broken. I love that they mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
He is no longer broken.
He's like,
but
you're no longer broken. I had to make my injury obsolete.
Yes.
It's great.
Yes, I loved it, man. So once again, something great on the show. Really appreciated all they gave us with that stuff, and keep it coming. That's my opinion. Keep it coming. You got to, and
I hope they don't separate any of them.
I fear that.
Yeah.
I fear that you're going to have Jeff on a different show. I do fear that, especially with Wyatt and Matt kind of doing their thing now. I don't know. I hope not, but I could see it. I really, really could see it. Especially since WWE loves to put, Jeff on the big pedestal. It seems to me that could be the case.
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on something before we move on to the next thing. I do want to touch on what you had mentioned about the main event and what you have with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I like you. I really enjoyed the match. How can you have a bad match with those two guys involved against each other at least? I really think to myself, there's many possibilities that they can take with those guys. Send them to SmackDown or maybe even send them to NXT. I kind of love that idea, Sean, for the fact that could you imagine them going to William Regal on NXT and saying, "Hey, is there a spot here?" and really trying to work something out with William Regal and having him try to do something with them.
Yeah, I can already tell Regal will just be like, Kevin, you can go F off, man. I don't want you powerbombing people into aprons again here. I don't need that.
Exactly. But not only that, could you imagine Sammy trying to sneak onto the roster by being El Generico?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
If he did that, that would be so amazing.
So I'm just throwing a few things out there. I could just imagine El Generico showing up on WWE television, and then Kevin Owens maybe trying to find his own way onto either NXT or maybe find his way, into the hearts of, the people in charge of some other thing. I don't know. I love also the idea of them teasing them on other promotions. Maybe Kevin Owens can tease going back to Ring of Honor, right? I would love it.
Could you imagine if they did show up on Impact?
Oh, God, that would be so great. I would high-five Vince in a second. Just thank you. Thank you for giving me that.
Go watch this channel called Pop TV. Do you even know what it is? Yeah, try to go find it.
Good luck if you have it. And if you do have it, you don't know you have it. So, yeah. So, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of great possibilities with the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn storyline. I really do. Some entertaining things. Like they may be a little bit wacky, kind of like the Woken universe. But that's okay. Sometimes wacky means money.
Yeah, exactly. Something that wasn't money, well, part of this was, and maybe perhaps part of this wasn't, is, of course, Roman Reigns, because, he's got to be on this show. He was in the main event of WrestleMania, after all, for the fourth time in a row. Only him and Hulk Hogan have that distinct honor. And so Roman Reigns comes out. Of course, he's getting booed. You could definitely tell they lowered the microphone for that one. I'm sure they were also chanting things that you didn't want to hear on television. And so he does admit that he got his butt kicked the night before, but he's there and Brock is not. And so what he can't understand is, once again, how Vince could not even look him in the eye and smarten him up to what was going to happen with Brock being the businessman, being the promoter that he is, teasing that he was going to go to UFC, only to re-sign again for another 3 years and hold on to that title. And then Roman almost plays like the player that finds out he got traded on Twitter. That's kind of like what Roman does here. It's like, oh, I found out about this rematch in a cage at the Saudi Arabia show on the internet. Feel bad for me. I'm sorry, I don't. And then Samoa Joe comes down, and Samoa Joe pretty much lays it out like it is. Oh, let's all woe is me for Roman Reigns because he thinks there's a conspiracy. And Samoa Joe says Brock exposed him. And Roman Reigns kept talking all about how he was the only guy that could beat Brock. And Roman failed. You lied to everyone, including yourself. And now all that happened is that Brock got more money at your expense. And so Roman's just an excuse machine, and when Brock beats him again, Joe will just be waiting to be the one that beats Brock at Backlash. So kind of teasing that perhaps you will have Roman win at the Saudi Arabia show in order to set up the match with Joe. I think about a week later, if not a week and a half later, at Backlash. So some seeds being sown. They could certainly still do Joe and Brock. I think everybody would be up for that again. Joe and Roman would be fine too. But it seems like that's what we're teasing. That Roman's going to overcome, and then Joe just gets to have his shot at Roman.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, and that's probably the way it's going to work out. But, at the end of the day, the way they set this up, it feels good, at least if this is the beginning of that, right? I do enjoy seeing Roman Reigns basically come out a little humbled, right, and really just admit his failure. And for Samoa Joe, who he is, what he's about, to rub it in, it just flowed so well to me. It made a lot of sense. Not only that, to have Samoa Joe just come back in general is exciting. You knew the crowd was going to love it. I'm really, really happy to see him come back. But for him to do this, it means a lot. And it also means that WWE wants to see this guy in a major title role, right? And maybe they don't give him the belt, but at least they see him in the upper echelon. And that's another thing that makes me feel really good about what's going on with WWE at the moment, at least on Raw. So what they do next, it's a big question mark on, if they really do follow through with the things that we kind of feel like are going to happen. Some of the things that didn't happen at WrestleMania didn't, so maybe we should question ourselves on those. But, I think the game plan going forward looks solid, if you ask me.
Yeah, certainly. From what they've already put out there and everything. So I'm down with that. I'm down with what they got going on. Roman's not going to just leave the spotlight. That's Vince's guy. And they're going to continue to push him for what he is, and there's nothing wrong with that. So,
what about Brock, though? Do you think this whole 3-year contract thing with Brock and all that, what is this about? Because I just have a hard time really getting into that and understanding what they're doing here.
Well, Brock they did a great job of swerving everybody and thinking, he's going back to UFC. And, honestly, unless Brock is bored, what is he losing out with WWE? He's getting everything he freaking wants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why not keep the Golden Goose going? Yeah. So, I don't blame him at all. Keep that Golden Goose going. You got nothing to lose here, so why not? You get to wrestle when you want. It seemed like he really didn't care to be wrestling Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That seemed very apparent.
Yeah.
I don't know who's left out there that he really would want to wrestle, but There's rumors that he went off script. There's rumors that he got in a confrontation with Vince. I don't know how much of that is true or not. I think part of that's also to continue to fuel the rumors about, he was going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's see. I mean, I don't know how he's under a contract to UFC, but he's under a contract with WWE. I don't know how that's going. I don't know if it's because it's Brock, it's a special thing, and they're letting that be okay right now. But right now what matters is that Brock is there. They're treating it like Brock is back again. Paul Heyman re-signed as well, so he makes them money. Until he doesn't make them money, until he doesn't draw ratings, until he doesn't draw attention, why not keep doing it?
Yeah, and I agree for Brock Lesnar, at least on that point, because, I mean, you said it. He's in a situation where he's got a golden goose and he can do whatever the heck he wants and make a ton of money doing it.
I personally am kind of tired of Brock myself, but...
Me too. We're on the same page. That's why I was a little shocked, and I was kind of hoping he was tired of us. I really was. Let me be honest, I was really hoping he was tired of wrestling, and I was...
But why go kill yourself in the UFC where if you take one loss, you're done?
And I think I'll be honest with you, Sean. I really feel like he knows in his heart that he's not going to be the top dog in the UFC. I think he knows it.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why he's not doing it. I was just hoping he was going to be overconfident. He was not overconfident. So we are here, and Brock Lesnar doing more wrestling. It'll be okay, but it's time for the Universal title to eventually leave his way so that he can take that time off and no one has to worry about it anymore. Save him for the bigger shows, the bigger matches, and I'm okay with that for sure.
Certainly. So that's your Raw.
Did we talk about the Authors of Pain? Did you mention that?
Oh, we did not, because the match is so freaking short. So Rhino and Heath Slater come out. They issue an open challenge, and Authors of Pain come out. The crowd was sort of happy about this. I didn't think the reaction was huge for them. But, I mean, they are the Authors of Pain. They're really cool guys. But they could also become the Ascension on the main roster as well. So we got to be careful with that. Especially with Paul Ellering deciding, not him, they make it seem like the Authors of Pain kind of left Paul Ellering there. But really what it is Paul Ellering doesn't want to travel. So he's pretty much done. At least with the main roster, don't know if they'll try to find somebody else for him to manage in NXT or something, but that is the word going around, that he does not want to do the main roster travel schedule. And with the Authors of Pain being where they are not going to get any kind of special treatment. So that means he'll be going to every single house show, every single event. I don't think he wants to do that, which I totally understand. He's pretty old. I mean, There's a picture of him at a 98 Raw. So think about that. 20 years from then on. So
it was easy for him because you're in NXT, you travel to Florida, and every great now and again you travel outside of that area, and then you just go back to Florida, and that was simple. It worked for his schedule, and I had a feeling that was going to happen. I know a lot of people said no, if he goes to the main roster he'll stick around. I just didn't believe it, and the way they ended it was fine. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen the video, go to WWE.com or go to their YouTube channel, and it actually has
it's a 1 minute segment. So
yeah, it actually has a 1 minute segment of them closing the chapter on Paul Ellering. So go check that out if you haven't seen that. So it makes sense. I'm happy for the Authors of Pain. Not a lot here. They just squash Heath Slater and Rhino, or Heath Slater. But at least it's a great introduction for these guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they end up and what they do.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. But looks like the tag team division is getting a little more full. So, again, going to be interesting to see what happens on SmackDown with who debuts. There's rumors of Andrade Almas. There's other rumors as well of who could appear for SmackDown. Dynamic Duo. I'm trying to think. There's Sanity, I think, has also been rumored already.
Oh,
Who
wow.
knows? Center was rumored last year too. So
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
But yeah, we'll see. SmackDown certainly could use the help, but again, they have a Superstar Shakeup happening, which already has again rumors of either Seth Rollins or Finn Balor moving over to SmackDown. So, and then of course those rumors of AJ going to Raw, and that's just some of them. That there's probably going to be like I think we talked about it on the WrestleMania show, the U.S. title and IC title swapping. So, a lot going on of what could happen there. Going to be an interesting few weeks. So Raw will be interesting because it'll be basically like another, like this Raw, but we're doing it again. I get that Vince doesn't like drafts, but I would much rather just have another draft.
Yeah.
You know, move everybody around.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
I don't think you have
agree.
to have the draft every. I think you could have the draft every couple of years. You don't have to do it every year. I'd do a Superstar Shakeup in between, but they did one last year. So if they did a draft this year, I think it'd be fine. But I get it. It's more to do, more writing that you have to do, more storylines you have to change around and all that. I get it, but it's just still, it's funner that way.
It is a lot more fun, but sometimes WWE doesn't like us to have fun. They just like to just put things into place, and here we go.
Yeah, no beach balls on this evening. Of course, they take those away now. So, but yeah, the crowd was into it the whole time, which is good because sometimes you'll get them totally disinterested. They made sure that they kept the matches short, which was smart. Any match that was kind of not on the high radar, they kept short, and again, it was a fun show. I'll give it a 7. You had had Lashley come back. You had the sad thing with Paige. You had a fun main event. The Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens thing continues. Authors of Pain showing up. Ember Moon showing up. So. Maybe you didn't have that huge return or a huge appearance by somebody, but still, it was a fun Raw.
Yeah, you're right. It was a lot of fun, and I think you're not far off from me too. I think a 7 is probably right around where I would like to rate it to. I would love to give it an 8 or a 9 just because all these big surprises and things like that, but. I don't think it was an overwhelmingly grand show. I think that they did the nice thing of getting you a few laughs and kind of doing a few things here, and the surprises were good. But I don't know. The feel of the show still did not feel like it was overwhelmingly grand. I don't know what I could say or put my finger on exactly what it was, but it was good. I think it really, did its job. But, at the end of the day, I really don't feel like I can give it an 8. Maybe I could give it a 7.5, but not an 8. So, but yeah, we really had fun talking about this Raw because it was one of the bigger ones, and it'll probably be really fun next week because, like Sean said, the Superstar Shakeup will start taking place, and we'll see a lot new faces and changes to Raw, and that's really, really cool. It's always exciting, just like tonight. So make sure you come check us out next week when we do that Raw review. And also make sure you go check out the SmackDown Live and 205 Live shows tomorrow night. They're going to be a lot of fun because there'll still be some of those big surprises over there on SmackDown Live. And who knows with 205. Maybe they'll do something special there as well. And also NXT, we'll be doing that later this week. And along with a Wrestling to the Max episode. We decided not to do a Wrestling to the Max episode earlier in this week because, well, let's be honest, everything we're talking about here on Monday Night Raw was the biggest news of the week. So there's no reason to even have an episode because we'd be repeating ourselves. So please just go check out Wrestling to the Max on Thursday night, Friday morning for you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have some big discussions probably falling out of what's going on in WrestleMania week and weekend. Besides that, make sure you go subscribe, rate, and review over to the W2M Network. If you haven't done it already, please go do it now. And also, W2Mnet.com has everything that you want. If you love sports, you love video games, wrestling, or heck, even entertainment, go check out that site. It is the best to go and get your podcast on, or any other things that you want to check out. Hey, and also our friends over at 411mania.com and LastRunProWrestling.com, go give them a look out as well. They're a lot of fun, and they give a lot of support up to us. Let's go give them some support. And besides that, we thank you all for joining us tonight. So until we get you guys down the road, I am Gary Vaughan. He is Sean Garmer, and we'll see you guys later.
Later.